Okay, so this is our first lesson for using Java arrays. And you see I have my BlueJ editor open and my main method is already set up. We're going to start by declaring a simple integer array. And to understand the definition from the Java documentation, an array is a collection of same type values. So that means once you create an array, it is going to have a uh, collection of values that are all the same data type. Additionally, arrays are fixed in length. So that means that if you have an array that holds 5 values, you cannot increase or decrease the number of values it holds. It will only hold 5 values. So let's get started. Int is the data type for my array. The square brackets lets my compiler know that I'm declaring an array variable, and I can give my variable a name. We'll call it num1. And this is just a declaration statement. I have not instantiated my num1 array yet. We know that when we instantiate, we need to use the keyword new. And if I put int with square brackets and 5, 5 is the fixed length of the array. So it is going to reserve a memory location where it can store 5 integer values, and num1 will store the memory location so the Java virtual machine can go and access those stored value types. So now it can never hold more or less than 5 values, and it will only be integer values, and that's what the array can do. And from here, we see that since they're integers, the array is going to store what we call the default value for an integer. So it's going to store 5 zeros in it. Now, we can retrieve those values by using the index of the array. So system out println, and the number or num1 is the name of my array. And if I say what is stored at index location number 1, it will print it out. So I'll compile this. I'll come over to my first arrays class and run the main method. And we see it stores 0 because it's storing 5 zeros right now. And if we want to see that it's storing 5 zeros, we can print all of the locations up. We just have to remember that an array starts with a 0 index, and it will go up to 1 less than its length. And this is a concept we should be familiar with after working with strings. Strings, that each character had an index of the string, and strings started at a 0 index and would go up to 1 less than the length of the string. So this should be nothing new for us. So I compiled it, and now I'll go back and run my main method, and we see it prints 5 zeros. Now, if I'd like to modify the values that are in the num array, I can access the location directly, and I can say at index 1, store the integer 10. I can say at index 2, let's store number 13. And I will print the entire array out once again, and you should find that index 0 will be 0, index 1 will be 10, index 2 will be 13, and then 3 and 4 will print zeros. So let's compile and run. And we see here are the 5 zeros from up above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the second round of printout. Index 0 is 0, index 1 is 10, index 2 is 13, index 3 is 0, index 4 is 0. And if we try to access index 5, let me take this out so that we don't have all these extra zeros being printed out. And when I try to access index 5, it compiles fine. And when I run it, we see that it says Java language array index out of bounds exception error. We tried to access index 5. It's showing us that here in the compiler or the editor that this is the line of code that the trouble is coming from. We're outside the range of valid index values. So we can always find out what the top index value is. Int top index is equal to num1, that's the name of my array, dot length minus 1. And that is the expression that we will use for the top index is take the array name dot length. Length is a instance variable of the array. It is fixed as final, so it is an attribute of the array, and we say take the length minus 1, and that will be our top index. So if I ask it to print the highest index value, right, we added the code. We can run this now. Oh, let me comment out this line here with the index 5. That's going to cause our index out of bounds value error again. And when we run this, we see here's the 5 values stored in my array. The highest index is equal to 4. It goes from 0 through 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this ability to identify the highest index value will become valuable when we're using for loops to access and modify or retrieve array values being stored.